Welcome to episode 4, Tiny Shop with Morgan Hop. I'm Morgan Hop. This right here is my tiny shop. Lots happened since the last update. I mean, a lot. I would love to do these videos in more bite-sized chunks, but life happens, circumstances change, gotta roll with it. So I went into this project with a plan and a time frame in mind, and I don't know about you, but every time I go into a project, I end up making little tweaks along the way. And those little tweaks, they add cost and they add time. And when you're just doing like a normal build project, like piece of furniture or whatever, that may add a day or two, or a little bit of cost, but on something this scale, that really adds up. All that to say, this project's taken a lot more time and costs a lot more money than expected. Tales old as time, right? Anyway, I got to a point where I just needed to get the shop functional, so I could actually start working in here and start generating some income. I primarily make my living creating content, so the space had to look good, or at least good enough to shoot videos in. That being said, I'm mostly caught up now and I had some time to put this update together, so there's a lot to cover. Hold on to your butts. Where we left off, I just finished the inside of the shop and loading all my tools back in. Most everything was kind of shoved up against a wall, but I did manage to get a miter station put together on the back wall and started laying out tool placement for the main workstation. The main workstation incorporates a joiner, a planer, a router table, a CNC underneath the outfeed, assembly station, storage, and the centerpiece of the whole thing, my table saw. It's just a little job site saw, but I made some modifications to make it feel more like one of the big boys. I removed the fence rails, fixed the extension wings permanently in place, and fabricated my own rail system to give it a 60-inch capacity. I did a separate video about that whole process. If you're interested, I'll put a link in the description. After that, I had to assemble my CNC and build a rolling base so that I could easily roll it in and out from under the outfeed to change bits and swap out material. I needed to put all that together to make sure that I knew exactly how I would eventually end up framing out the main workstation that would give the machine enough clearance to operate. Knowing exactly how much space I needed to leave for the CNC, I was able to start building the main workstation. First thing to get framed out was the section over the CNC, then the table saw, then the joiner. The workstation isn't really done yet because I still need to get a dedicated planer to put in there. The planer outfeed will run under the joiner, so since I have that set up, I'll add some longer infeed and outfeed for the joiner. To make it easier to roll the CNC in and out, I made these little fold-down arms to grab the X-rail. The arms attach to the underside of the workstation top and hold the X-rail in a fixed position. I use this wireless controller to jog the Y-axis, and that moves the whole machine in and out. Here goes nothing. Wind her on back. Pretty cool, right? CNC! I also mounted my smaller CNC to the wall over here next to one of the dust collectors. This one will be a dedicated laser engraver since I have the big one for routing operations. Oh, I also installed some LEDs on the underside of the top. Since a lot of the content I'm going to be filming is centered around the CNC, that seemed like the best way to get some good lighting in there. By the way, both of these machines were provided by Onefinity CNC, and they are outstanding machines. I'm working closely with Onefinity, creating weekly content for their YouTube channel. Hi, Morgan here for Onefinity. Morgan here. Hi, if you have a CNC or you're considering getting one, pop on over to their channel. Check it out. With all the tools in place, I could finally put on my top. Because the top surface of the main workstation is so big, I had to use 3 separate pieces. I taped the underside of the joints where the panels met and poured a little epoxy along all the seams to blend everything together and hopefully make it look like one piece. Sanded it smooth, painted it black, and hit it with a few coats of lacquer. The miter station in the back had become sort of a catch-all for whatever I was working on at the time, so I got in the bad habit of just setting things down on it and misplacing things. I needed to get a little better organized so I could stop wasting so much time just looking for the tools and supplies I needed. So at long last, I got around to installing the wall panels that Wall Control was gracious enough to send.
Wall Control to Major Tom.
It's pretty great. They got a ton of accessories and make so much sense in terms of shop organization. Dedicated fixtures for tools, hardware, all the little stuff you regularly need for pretty much every project. Now I won't lose any more precious time wandering around the shop like an idiot looking for stuff. All that time looking for stuff is actually converted into productive build time. Think about it. Anyway, huge thanks to the folks at Wall Control for sending that stuff and supporting the project. Love you guys. Speaking of supporting the project, Rockler also sent me their Pro Router Lift, among other things. And it was honestly so easy to install, I'm kind of kicking myself for not having done it sooner. Crazy easy. And it sits right next to the table saw, so I can use the same fence and digital scale for both. After getting all my tools set up, I spent some time doing just some general organization. I put up a few French cleat shelves and built a clamp rack with my CNC. I inherited this old drill press and I couldn't really think of a good place to put it, so I ended up sticking it in front of the window here. It seemed like a good spot because it's off the floor and the space in front of the window isn't being used for anything else anyway. I also made a little progress here in the office. I got one desk set up on one side of the door for my computer and another one on the other side of the desk for my 3D printer. So I started 3D printing these little clamps I designed and selling them on Etsy. I call it the Flying Saucer Clamp, and it's a real simple design, but I find myself using it for a ton of applications in the shop. I put 10 pairs of these things up on Etsy a few weeks ago, and I expected them to take a few weeks to sell through them all, but they actually sold out in an hour and a half. And if you're interested in these little flying saucer clamps, I'll put a link to the Etsy shop in the description. They're pretty cool. And I think that's about all the updates I have for you. So if you found any of this helpful, or if you drew some inspiration from this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you can see when I post videos. It's not that often, it should be more often. I know that. My bad. But for real, now that the shop is all set up and I'm actually able to work in here, it's gonna be a lot more content, a lot more often. So hope to see you on the next one. All right. Bye.